Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you guys about how to hold people accountable at your job, in your work, in your career, right? So guys, I want to talk about accountability before I go on about how and why. Accountability is crucial in every relationship, whether it's with your coworkers, with your wife, your spouse, your girlfriend, with your kids. Accountability lets people know that certain behaviors won't be tolerated, right? And it lets people know, it instills boundaries, right? You need boundaries, because if not, like I said, I say this a lot, but if you don't have boundaries, guys, people are like, and you guys know this, when you're too nice or you let things slide, or, oh, this time it's okay, right? Don't worry about it. When you have that mentality, guys, you're basically allowing people to step all over you, right? So I'm going to talk about how to hold people accountable in your job. But guys, accountability is a must. And without accountability, guys, everything crumbles. Everything dissolves and everything turns into chaos, right? So first, we're going to talk about, especially in your job, right? So this is for people who are in leadership roles or intend to be in leadership roles, right? The first person you need to hold accountable, guys, is yourself, right? Because if you're not the type of man or woman to lead by example, how the hell do you expect other people to want to show up on time, do the right things, have a sense of urgency, and also have the motivation to grow and advance and do better, right? How do you expect them to want to do that if you are not being accountable to yourself? So what does being accountable to yourself mean in terms of a job or career? What are some things that would imply that you're accountable to yourself, right? That you hold yourself to a high standard. Here we go. Ready? Are you the first one there? If you're the first one there in the morning, right? That shows that you show up. You're accountable to yourself. You say, hey, I'm the type of man or woman to be here at this time before everybody, right? Do you stay later? Are you the type of person to leave as soon as the second crew gets in, right? Do you ever stay behind to finish work, right? Because here's the thing, right? If you come in early, that's great. But if you leave early and you leave, if you leave work undone, right? Even though it's your time to go, are you going to really sit there and expect your second crew or your second shift team to want to be supportive and want to go the extra mile for you and cover your back when heat comes your way? They're probably not, right? So the first step towards accountability is showing up on time, showing up early, leaving on time or leaving later, but never leaving early and never showing up late. That is key. I mean, obviously, you have emergencies and whatnot. Sure, you got to leave early. But for the most part, right, it comes down to when it's a job, you show up before everyone else and you leave after everyone else, right? For the most part. That's number one. And then number two is what are you doing when you're there, right? Because you can show up early, right? You can do all the right things. You can leave later, but you could just be milking the clock, right? So when you're working, right, are you training your people? Are you working hard? Are you getting tasks done? Do you have a sense of urgency, right? Are you following up with your team from the night before, right? So there's a lot of things that go into you as the leader, right? Because if you are hitting the par, if you are doing everything right in your job description, in your ability to make the location a pleasant location for customers to come into, right? Whatever it is, right? Super diverse topic here. But if you're doing everything you can do in terms of your leadership role and your job description, right, then it makes everyone else, it cuts the problem right in half, right? Because typically, like I said, I've worked in different locations in my company, right? And the people that have the worst staff are typically the worst leaders, right? Because I've worked with leaders who are really good and 90% of their staff is on point. They do the right things. And I've worked with leaders who are not that great and 80% of their staff is awful. They show up late, they're lazy, etc. Right? So it starts off with you as the leader. When you hold yourself accountable, that cuts the problem in half. Now, here's where we get into the second part of this, right? Dealing with your people, right? Dealing with your workers and holding them accountable. No matter how good you are, no matter how sharp you are, no matter how early you show up, how late you stay, how hard you work, there are going to still be a small percentage of people that you might work with that are going to be a problem, right? They're lazy, they don't do the right things, they take too many breaks, they're in the bathroom, they're smoking, they're vaping, they're doing whatever, or they're arguing, right? There will be people that are like this no matter how good you are, right? Now, obviously, you being on point and you doing all the right things minimizes that, because people are going to want to follow you. Even if they might not be the best, they'll still do what they need to do. There won't be a problem, right, to work with. So how do you deal with holding people accountable, right? So I'm not going to go into the different things that, you might need to address, right? There's a multitude of different things, like this person didn't do this right, or they didn't do it at all, or they showed up late, or they had a problem with a customer or guest. I'm not going to get into all those different details. There's 3 things, right, as a leader. There's 3 things you can do to let people know, if you do this, so there's 3 things, right? But here's what I'm going to say. The way to get people to do things, even if they're not good or even if they're a problem, is by fear, right? If people don't fear losing their job, or they don't fear ridicule, or they don't fear you just as an individual, if they don't feel a sense of like, shit, I'm gonna lose my job if I continue this behavior. If they don't fear that, they're gonna keep doing it no matter what, right? So how do you create, like I said, I know this sounds bad, but like I said, fear works. Having people be on edge works when it comes to getting them to do something, right? You have to hurt them in the pockets. When you hurt people in the pockets, then that's when they behave, or they go away, right? So here's the 3 things. Ready? You cut their hours back, right? So if they were a full-time employee, if they were, they're working 4 or 5 days a week, you cut them back to 2, right? You see what happens, right? And, this might be, you can cut their hours back after you've had a conversation and the problem isn't corrected. So first, obviously, you want to have the conversation with them. If it's not corrected, then you have another conversation. And then what you can do is, after that first conversation, right, if nothing changes, right, if you say, hey, I don't appreciate this, can we correct it? If they don't correct it, what you do is, first off, you document it in their Workday or whatever work app you use. You document it. Because when you document it, guys, people know that you will have no problem firing them. But when there's no documentation, then they know, oh, this guy ain't gonna do anything. I can keep my job, right? So documenting lets people know right up front, yes, if you do this, if this behavior continues, there will be a second documentation. And after that, if it continues, the third documentation, you're gone. Right? So when you start documenting, you immediately let people know that, hey, this is not acceptable. And if it continues, you will not have a job here. Point blank, period. Right? So that's one way to do it. The second way to do it, I don't know why I spoke about this first. The second way to do it is you cut their hours. So, if you're someone who maybe doesn't want to document or whatever, you should do that. That's the process. But you can cut hours, right? So maybe they might not sign off on the document, but hey, guess what? If you worked 5 days a week and you're not listening, you don't want to work on your job, and you don't want to do the job correctly, I'm going to cut you down to 1 or 2 days, right? So hey, guess what? If it doesn't correct now, you're probably going to leave because you can't pay your bills, right? Or, it's better for us too, because hey, I only have to work with you 1 day now, so it's not even that big of a deal, right? Or you'll leave, right? And in most cases, they leave if you cut their hours, extended for a long period of time. Number 3 is, okay, so we talked about documenting, we talked about cutting hours. What the fuck was number 3? Oh, number 3 is you just send them home. You just send them home. You just tell them to leave, right? You have the absolute authority to do that. If someone does not want to listen, right? Someone doesn't want to do the job, send them home. And like I said, if you don't want to document, that's cool. But if you get in the habit of sending people home, and as a result of them not doing their job, what does that mean again? When you send someone home, guess what? You're not getting paid. You're not getting that check, so you can't pay your bills. You don't have money for food. So hey, guess what? I better do my fucking job now, because I'm not gonna eat if I don't do my job, right? So that's really, those are the 3 techniques that I've used, and that some of my bosses, my supervisors have used to weed people out or get them to sharpen up. Right? So your job, your goal with people is to, if they're a problem, there's only 2 approaches. You do the documentation, you do the cutting hours, or you send them home for only 2 reasons. Either to get them to act right, to start to do the job correctly, to start to behave and do the right thing, or to weed them out, right? Because like I said, when you don't do any documentation, and you don't have any accountability for anybody, your location or whatever you're at is going to suffer immensely, right? Because now, like I said, you're a leader who no one respects, who no one wants to work for, who people feel like they can do whatever they want. And hey, guess what? If people can do whatever they want, they're going to be lazy, they're going to show up late. Now your job sucks because you have a team that doesn't work together and doesn't respect you, right? And fights with each other and is lazy. And now you have people complaining, you have people gossiping. It's just a hellish environment, and it only gets worse over time, right? So you have to absolutely hold people accountable. There is no negotiation. It's either, you guys literally have to look at it like, if I don't hold people accountable, like, my job will be hell. Because like I said, the job, sometimes, like, jobs aren't that bad. The job itself, like the jobs that I've worked, like the doing of the tasks aren't that hard. It's always the people that are a problem, right? So when you don't know how to relate to people correctly, or you don't know how to put your foot down or set boundaries, if you aren't able to execute on that, then your job is going to be miserable, right? Because like I said, you're going to have problems that will have no end. Because if you don't get people out, guys, like I said, you can either do 2 things. Like I said, as a result of you not holding people accountable, right, you're going to have to deal with the fact that they suck, they're lazy, they show up late, and you're going to naturally start complaining about it. But hey, guess what? There's only 2 things in this world, 2 ways to go. You either complain about something or you fix it. And in this topic that I'm discussing with you, the way to fix it is you get them out, right? You fire them, or you, like I said, they just stop showing up on their own and they're done, right? But you know, like I said, allowing people to do whatever they want is not fun, and it makes your job worse. It makes it a headache. It makes it annoying. And like I said, I've witnessed bosses who have had that mentality, and it's not fun. The team morale sucks. No one likes each other. No one wants to work with each other. Everyone has a victim mentality. Everyone blames this person, blames that person. And then, hey, guess what? As a result, you know, if you're commission based, your commission's gonna suck, right? Because people aren't pushing out the product, right? They're not upselling. They're not motivated to do anything. So your commission's gonna suck. Your money's not gonna be there like it should be. And like I said, it's just a hellish environment. You work there 40, 50 hours a week. Don't you want to have, I'm not saying you're gonna have the best time. You know, obviously there's days that are better than others, and there's days that are worse than others. But for the most part, don't you want to have just like a decent experience at your job? You're there 40, 50 hours a week, right? But I'm talking to people who are in leadership roles, or who want to be in, or who are about to be in leadership roles, right? You gotta fucking put your foot down, right? And this goes across the board in every domain of life, in every domain of human relationship / interaction, right? You have to put your foot down. You have to hold people accountable. And like I said, primarily, it starts with you as a leader. You have to hold yourself to a high standard and be accountable to yourself first before you can demand any accountability from anyone else. So yeah, that's it. That's all, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave them down below. And as always, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.